Welcome back to another reading and correcting of The Used Child by me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. Today we are doing chapter 38. Let's jump ahead. After more than a week of all-day meetings, requests to see written treatment of the movie, and traveling all over the planet for possible locations, this mission was finally almost over. Alex watched the two workers set the crate down where he indicated, then spent 5 minutes adjusting their position. As far as he could tell, they were fine, but they fussed over each crate. Any chance you can pick up the pace? I have other places to be. One of the kids smiled at him. We don't want them to fall over while we fly, right? We're both in their 20s, and by their behavior, that was real age. That was objective. Real is not really a concept when it comes to age in this world. It's either objective or subjective. Look, I have anchors. I can secure them while you go get the next one. No, the other one said, and this is something I would no longer do. The other one said, stretching the word like it was a mile long. Alex wasn't sure he was working with full code. It might damage something, and then it'd be my job. How can it be your job? Alex tried to bury his nose. I paid for them and they're in my hover. As their owner, I'm telling you, I'll deal with that. Oh, sorry. Alex looked at the chrono on the dash. He'd given himself leeway because he'd seen how things went wrong with loading at its father's warehouse, but he hadn't given himself that much time. You know what? I don't care if you lose your job. I'm going to help. He headed outside. The more muscular of the two, barely so, stood in his way. No customer allowed inside, company policy. Then pick up the pace. I have a meeting I can't miss. We're already going as fast as we can. You're not helping by interrupting us. Fine, just hurry up. Alex dumped himself in the pilot seat. Watched the chronometer. When the last batch of the crate was in, he was tempted to just take off. He could complain about it while he headed to his appointment. All done, the thin one said. The other one said, a smile of pride on his face. Thank you for. Alex shoved him outside and closed the ramp. He should have just left. Barely had any time left, but one crate fell over and the content were damaged. Tristan would make him pay. By the time he was done, he couldn't be on time anymore. He cursed. He was going to have to break a few travel laws and hope he wouldn't hit delays on top of that. And the traffic slowed almost as soon as he left the loading dock. He couldn't do what some others were doing, zooming up to reach the long-distance travel lane. Might not care about the fine or having their hover marked, but Alex couldn't attract attention. And his plan called for changing the side of the hover, and he couldn't do that where anyone could see. It picked this route because of the tunnel. The vehicle picked up speed, and he forced his way into the space into a space here and there to gain a fraction of a second. He reached the tunnel as the traffic finally reached full speed. As soon as it was in the dark, he sent the command. The production name and the color vanished, replaced by security transfer. With the red and orange mark of a sunset. So secure was their motto that you could simply go to sleep and forget about it. On the other side of the tunnel, he started the predictive traffic program. He didn't like them. They were unreliable, but he didn't have a choice. He needed to make up time. He hadn't made up enough by the time he reached the ramps, the long distance lane, and there he pushed the speed until the warning indicator kept flashing yellow. Everything automated. So long as it didn't go red, he was fine. Unless one of the local law officer happened to see him. Were allowed to force him to land for anything out of the green. He had to hope this place was like every other planet he'd been to. He pulled a waste management uniform on over his business clothes, and then the matching transport uniform on, never stepping away from the controls. Programs couldn't always notice law, so it would be his job to slow down, verbal in the red and orange uniform. He sat down and watched the chrono as he slowly made up time. He reached the broadcasting company at the exact appointment time. His heart was beating so fast it was a vibration. Of course, now he had to deal with with a human guard. Any chance he can hurry? I'm almost late. Set the program that would insert him within the employee structure as a coercionist and validate the waste management credential identification. Relax. You're here. I've logged your arrival time, so you're not late. I have to do this. You know that. Alex kept his mouth shut and tried to slow his heartbeat. It didn't matter if he wasn't late. He still had to be inside the building at a specific time to be able to do what he needed. The gate opened. Oh, your dock is 112. It's on the. I know, I've been here before. Thanks. He entered the company ground and traveled at the slow crawl they mandated. He wasn't going to speed here. They had no patience for rule breakers. He searched for the other hover as he traveled on his dock. His program, his program, his tracking program told him it had arrived without problem, but once at the dock, it couldn't do anything. Found 112 and backed the hover into it. The dock's computer took over, gave the handshake, and accepted the extra programs Alex had prepared. The ramp lowered, and the sound of the warehouse filled the hover. He ignored them, hurried across the floor. Normally, hover pilots weren't allowed out of their hover, but one of the programs that had accepted was a notification he needed to see one of the supervisors because there was an error with the order. That meant none of the automated system would stop him, and walking with conviction meant the workers had better things to do than get in his way. Found the exit and pulled out his pad. The status of all his other programs he had all the other programs he had waiting in the city came back green. He didn't like doing things this way. He hadn't been able to do a dry run. All he had to work off were reports on security companies' response time. When were those ever accurate? The office he needed to go to was further down the corridor. The light dimmed. Good. Still no one. He was by a disposal bin when they went out fully. He was out of the transport uniform, and now he was a waste management employee. He was allowed throughout most of the non-secure floor. The lights came back on. This one would register as an overload at a junction at the edge of the city, one that the power company would check and decide was just a glitch. He looked at the chrono on the pad, and as he pushed through the door, he needed to hurry up. He couldn't be on this side of that door when the next phase happened. He rushed through the halls, hoping no one would stop him. The door was in view, but too far. It opened just as light went out. He pulled off the uniform as he ran, almost tripping and hitting someone. Hey! Sorry! He heard the door close behind him. The light was on, and the uniform was in another disposal bin. Now, he looked like any other cubicle jockey. He assumed the same confused expression everyone else was wearing. This was the administrative department. People who were authorized here, so no one bothered looking at him. Only people who were authorized were here. One group in an office wasn't relaxing. This hadn't been a glitch. This was the power junction right outside the gate. All their programs would reach the only conclusion they could. This was an attack. An alarm sounded. All non-essential personnel go to outside meeting zones and report to your supervisor. Security team 1 through 8 go to your assigned meeting point. 9 through 12 take position at all entrance. Silence. Have to do. Don't be dumb. What does the hard power crash do to a computer? Please. Why is it a preferred method of coercion is to bypass security? Anti-coercion team, take position at the mainframe. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Instruction repeated, and Alex was running against the flow along with 3 others. One of them frowned at him, but Alex couldn't care. The team couldn't be so small. Everybody knew everyone else. Within a dozen steps, it was only the 3 of them left. Then more joined them. They reached an open door and entered. Pick a station, a woman said. Grab your earpiece and start listening to the system. You know, a young man called. Nothing yet, just that we're under attack. The system rebooted and the security programs still haven't come back. This is just a safeguard. I doubt the mainframe went dark. Everyone stared at it. Alex did too, but he was also coding. This was the time to fill his peripherals buffer. Stop gawking, people. You have a job to do. What? The frame's down, a woman said. What can we do? Just remember your training, the young man again. Your terminal still works, so listen for the connection signal. Exactly. And those of you who know how to code blind, start now. Alex smiled. Code blind? He never heard that expression. Back in school, they called what he was doing coded in the void. The mainframe lit up, and the large room became a frenzy of activity. The buffer emptied itself within the mainframe, its program starting its own hunt, hiding as a program looking for malicious infection. He spoke to the system, but unlike everyone else, he kept his tone low. If someone overheard him, that would be problematic. He was deep within the mainframe when the security program became active. They were confused with all the other activities. They had to validate every other coercionist working in. They had to validate every other coercionist working in. They had to validate every other coercionist work within the system. He had time. A program sent him a tone. He couldn't have them light up, not in this crowd. Someone would come investigate. It had found something promising. X-Curse. One of the security program was on his tail. Well, he should have more time. He set a command to lock his program in place and spoke. Bedtime. The mainframe went dark again. How are they doing that? An older woman. Did someone miss a node? All those I have are clean. Same here. Here too. What about yours? Alex coded. With the speed the security program reacted, he needed to add buffers and delays. I ask you a question. Someone grabbed his shoulder. Alex jumped and his knife dropped to his belt. Don't do that. Good thing he hadn't worn an accessible knife. Well, were the communication clean? I don't know. That's not my job. I'm on deep scrubbing, making sure they don't use the downtime to insert programs under the security's radar. What's your name? I don't remember you. Archibald. I'm usually on the nighttime crew, but Melissa Crowner has a thing, so she asked me to cover her shift. The mainframe lit up. Go, go, go! She left him to walk around. He searched for the tone. Smarter than the rest. I made you show me there. With a wall of programs around him, he plunged toward the tone. Yes, it was the archive of broadcasting ID. He couldn't use an active. That would create a conflict and probably shut down anyone using it. He needed to make sure the one he picked wouldn't then be assigned to someone else, but he couldn't remove it. He wrote a revolving door program. Any of the mainframe's program that would attempt to interact with the one he picked would go in and come right back out, convinced everything had been perfect. Now, he did something that was tricky, that was risky. He didn't have a data chip. He couldn't put one in. This area was too secure. The only place he had where he could store data was his earpiece, but it wasn't made to carry data long term. The moment he took it out, it would clear all its buffer. He had to hope everyone was too busy to notice him. With it stored, he extracted himself from the system, moving any trace in the process. He looked at the time, too damn long, but it helped. Now for the unknown. He headed for the door. Where do you think you're going? And asked. Bathroom, he replied without stopping. The door didn't open. We're not done here. Alex turned. She wore similar clothes as everyone else. Slack, shirt, and jacket. When there wasn't an emergency, she probably did coercion too. Lady, maybe you missed it in all the in everything going to hell, but whoever designed this room never thought to put in a bathroom. I'm not changing that. Why didn't you go ahead of time? Oh, excuse me. Was I the only one who didn't get the memo we were going to be under attack today? He raised his voice. Did your memo give you the time of the unplanned attack so that we could do a bathroom break before all this happened? Tittering and laughter sounded around the room. But if nothing else, he was giving them a way to break the tension. No one leaves until there's a confirmation the mainframe is clean. So you need me to stay in here, no matter what? Yes! She was getting angry. That was okay. Anger he could work with. Fine. What corner is designated for pissing? Are all the protection in place to make sure the mainframe doesn't get wet? When I need to take a dump, is that the same corner or a different one? The coercionist closest to them stopped working and exchanged worried glance. Get back to work. What? They don't have a right to weigh in on this? They're stuck in here too. She pointed to the door and the lock turned green. You have 5 minutes. If you're not back, I'm sending security after you. No worries, ma'am. He was out and walking quickly. He took out his datapad and started it up. He'd had to shut it down so they wouldn't know he had it. Once the earpiece acknowledged it transferred the broadcasting ID to it, he finally breathed easier. Contacted the hover and told it to get ready for departure. It replied it was still waiting to be loaded. Why hadn't anyone loaded it? He accessed the camera network and cursed. Every loader in the warehouse was at a standstill. Placed a call to the company, having it think it came from the city. Routing. Hi, Edward Finland. I'm in waste pickup. Our operator contacted me to say no one's working. We're on a schedule. Anyway, you can tell whoever handles this to stop sleeping. I'm sorry, sir. We've had an emergency. It's procedure to shut down all loaders until it's resolved. What do you mean shut down? What kind of emergency requires waste pickup to be stopped? Have the AIs decided to form a dance troupe? Sir, the voice was exasperated. I can't answer that. Once security decides it's safe, everything will start up again. Alex disconnected. This was why he wanted dry runs. There had been no mention of a full shutdown. The loaders were automated. They should have kept going, picking up the broadcasting, thinking it was waste and putting it in his hover. Now he'd have to sit and wait. Headed for the lobby. He couldn't walk outside the building during an emergency, but at least no one cared where he went. No, I couldn't walk out. He couldn't walk through the building during an emergency, but at least no one cared where he went outside. Oh, okay. No one cared where he went if he was outside. It would be a long walk around the building, but it looked like he had time. He had his ID out when he opened the door, one that identified him as George Pentar, and that the system had already noted he'd come in for a meeting earlier that day. He handed it to the guard. He scanned it, handed it back. Alex turned to head for the door as a woman entered, accompanied with two men. She fixed her gaze on him and smiled. Alexander Bartholomew Crimson, it is such a pleasure to see you again. This concludes Chapter 38 of The Used Child. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter is going to be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to support me, that's on my Patreon, where you can get access to everything I've written before. If you want to read this story, should have come first, and all the other books in the series, they are available on all major e-retailer. And if you want to listen to me do these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. The links are in the notes. And with that, I shall wish you a good day.